All right, Fresh. A game that's lost a little bit of its luster, but maybe have gotten a little bit of it back here. The Florida State Seminoles traveling to Clemson. This originally was a night game. It's been shifted to a noon kick. Ooh, Florida State at the time of record is a 2-point favorite. Coming off a win. Over under is set at 55 here. This is it for Florida State. I mean, realistically, this is it for Florida State. They win this game, and they can really run through the rest of the ACC. Clemson, here's how you pull yourself back off the map.
Well, they call it Death Valley for a reason, and I got a feeling this could be the death of the Dabo Sweeney Clemson run if they don't get the victory on Saturday. This could be the end of something special. We've seen some kinks in the armor recently, but if you lose this ball game and lose it in a very ugly way, it's going to start spiraling pretty quickly. Where you revert back to Clemsoning and you revert back to all of that, and the small little window there you had was fantastic. So this is really more of a pride of the program. Dabo, your entire imprint on it. It's very similar with the Nick Saban situation. You haven't obviously been you don't have the same mystique that Saban does, but your run is at stake. Your legacy of being on campus is at stake. How does this Clemson football team in the pride, how do they show up on Saturday afternoon? Florida State's last loss was October 15th, 2022 in Doak to Clemson, 34-28. You don't think they're kind of pissed off about that? You don't think that's been lingering in their minds? Jordan Travis versus Boston College. If you aren't watching, if you haven't seen, late second quarter, went down hard on his left elbow, left shoulder. Held it in basically did not move it for the rest of that entire half. Had it kind of like a sling. Some people thought it may be broken. Maybe it was a stinger. Maybe it was a dislocated shoulder. Maybe elbow, like whatever. He came out and played a little bit in the second half. Did not look comfortable. It's not his throwing shoulder, but did not look comfortable. And that lack of offensive firepower, his lack of playing with freedom without worrying about that shoulder, it hindered them. They did not look the same. They allowed BC to get back in the ballgame, and they survived by 2 points. BC had 18 penalties. They're not getting 18 Clemson penalties on Saturday. How are they going to be able to make up that lack of a second half? They just sort of let down. Is Jordan Travis truly hurt, or is it just a minor stinger? How is that going to impact? Is he going to be thinking more about falling and taking a hit on that left side of his body and not completing passes to Coleman or to anyone else in that offense? Are they going to focus more on the running game, giving it off to that solid groups of running backs, and maybe let them handle the brunt of it and protect Travis? Because I'm not going to lie, if Travis isn't at quarterback or he's not fully healthy, this is a different Florida State offense. His mobility, his be able to create on the go is what makes him dangerous, and also helps the offense completely just explode because it creates passing lanes that weren't ever there. The on the fly play action, the broken plays, is truly what Travis is special at and makes that offense even more lethal than what it is. If he is playing to protect the arm, if he is not 100% healthy, that offense is now limited a little bit. I'm not saying completely shut down, but it's not the same. And that might give Clemson's defense a chance to be able to make some plays in this football game. We've talked about how great Clemson's defense is, and they recruit all the players. Jeremiah Trotter, Barrett Carter, two great linebackers. Not going to doubt that whatsoever. They have not looked the same since Breezy and Murphy and the rest of those guys have all left after last year and the year before. Who in that secondary is going to want to step up, because the receivers and the talent in that Florida State offense is going to punish them if they don't make plays? Is it going to be Jalen Phillips, Sherrod Koval, Avian Terrell, Andrew Makaba, Khalil Barnes, Toronto Pride Jr., RJ Mickens, Sheridan Jones? Which one of you is going to show up and make a play and get off the field? Who's going to get that pick? Who's going to come off the edge for that sack? Who's going to strip that ball and get a fumble? Who's going to get that stop on third down? Who's going to get that pass defense on a big critical play? Who's going to show up and show that your defense still has pride? It can't just fall on the two linebackers, because obviously with the receiver talent and the running backs and his mobility, they'll still expose good linebackers. You need defensive linemen to show up and solidify the line of scrimmage, but you as a secondary have got to shut down Florida State. You've got to be there and allow that pass rush to get home. It's a two-way thing. Pass rush makes you look good. Your coverage makes them look good. You've got to be there. If you don't show up, you're going to be destroyed. And you know what? If anything else, your NFL stock is what you want to have at Pride, not just for Clemson Tiger football program, but if you get exposed, your NFL stock as a prospect might take a hit. So go in there and lock it down. Spend extra time in the meeting rooms. Take the extra effort practice because you're going to be running a lot on Saturday afternoon, and you're going to need to be there, and you're going to be sharp. The last time Clemson started 0-2 in ACC play was 2010. They ended with 4 ACC losses and 6 losses total, 7 if you include the bowl game. You already have lost to Duke. If you lose to Florida State, you're 0-2. You're no longer even a contender for anything at that point. And now we start thinking, can this team even get out of that own hole? Will they have 4 or 5 losses? Will this be a 6-6 football team? Cade Klubnik has not shown me anything as a quarterback. Do I really trust this passing attack? Do I trust this Clemson offense to show up in a big game? They had a big game in their Orange Bowl versus Tennessee. He looked horrible. The offense was terrible. Will we see a different product? If not, Clemson's done on both sides of the ball. Will Shipley, you were this big-time recruit. You feel like you've been there for 30 years. What will you do on Saturday? Will you actually show the talent that everyone's really been expecting to see, catching the ball in the backfield, breaking people's ankles, running somebody over, scoring a couple touchdowns, or are you just a running back? Because Clemson, they're known for some stud running backs. C.J. Spiller is one of them that comes to mind. Are you going to be in that class, or are you just going to be another guy who I got to sit in the running back room, for 3 or 4 years when I was on campus, but I didn't actually take over the moment and show up in a big game? I'm challenging the entire Clemson program. The entire Clemson, this is a top to bottom situational, organizational pride on the line. If you do not show up, the reign of fear in the ACC is done. And you are no longer a flag bearer of that conference. Your small window of relevancy, yeah, you got 2 national championships, but it is evaporated if you do not show up and at least play with heart against Florida State. Can you win? I think so. You have talent. Will you win? That's a different story. And that's what I want to see. Will the Clemson Tigers, will the fan base show up? Will Death Valley be Death Valley, or will it be your funeral? Florida State's favored by 1.5. I can't go against them right now. They're too talented. Florida State wins this running away. I think there's just way too much talent, and I don't see Clemson playing a full 4-quarter football game. I saw that team quit versus Duke, and that was just for Duke. Florida State's better than that. Florida State will destroy them. This game won't even make it to the 4th quarter. It will put Dabo Sweeney on the hot seat. Obviously, he has 2 national championships and played for another, but it will start steaming up of this program has lost its focus and is going in a bad direction. And Florida State will put themselves in the driver's seat, not just for an ACC crown, but a playoff spot with this dominating win. The over will hit because of Florida State alone. Knowles roll.
My question is, does Florida State play tight? Because this is the last major hurdle to me in their track to get to the college football playoff. As early as it is, week 4, we talked about this during our season preview. The rest of their slate, Virginia Tech home, Syracuse home, Duke at home. I know Duke's playing well. They got to travel to Wake Forest. They got to travel to Pitt. Miami, which is looking better, has to come into Tallahassee. They also have Florida at the end of the year. They got to go into Gainesville. So there's a couple of questions there, but I don't see anything on this schedule that really screams like this team is going to have the horses and the talent to keep up with the Seminoles. Clemson does. Clemson still, they haven't really put together, and I think they're still reeling from that Duke loss. They're really going to have to build themselves back up. I think it's going to come down to a running backs here, Fresh. Benson or Shipley, who has the better game. Whoever has the better game in the running department, that's going to be the difference maker in this game. Florida State has got to force Clemson into turnovers. That's what Duke did. Clemson outgained Duke up and down the field, but they lost the game because they were turning the ball over when it mattered the most. Can Florida State do that? Florida State, prolific offense. It's going to be tough. This is the best defense that they're going to face. I think LSU was pretty good, but there are still a lot of questions in that LSU defense. A lot of transfer kids coming in. This defense has been together for a couple of years. There's a lot of talented football players on that Clemson defense. And I think same thing that we talked about with Alabama. Clemson's back against the wall. They're wounded. They know that their national perception is slipping. It's like sand running through their fingertips as they're trying to grasp and hold on to it. And the problem is that they see Florida State climbing the mountain and climbing the mountain very, very fast. This is your opportunity to knock Florida State off the mountain, bring them down a peg or two, and say, hold on. The ACC still goes through Death Valley. It still goes through the Clemson Tigers. As much as I can't stand Dabo Swinney, he is a good football coach, and he is going to have Klubenek ready to go. I'm expecting a big game out of Bo Collins. I'm really expecting Clemson to put the pressure on Florida State's defense. That's what I need to see. Did BC expose some things that you can exploit? I know you'll talk about the penalties and stuff but you still got to get the ball into the end zone. You can't get a penalty and put the ball into the end zone. Did BC show Clemson something to exploit? Is Florida State, if they did, is Florida State a good enough football team to fix those issues in a week? This is a big-time matchup. I'm going with the team that's wounded and that's going to come out swinging and going to come out swinging at home. Give me Clemson in an upset. I'm going to say Clemson wins this game. We're going to be talking about the Clemson Tigers and saying, okay, they're punching their way back out. I still am not sold on Clemson. Not saying that they're going to win the ACC. But you're right. This is a pride moment. And this is a thing where you're going to sit there and say, hey, we're still around. We're still in this conference. And we still can kick your butt any day of the week here at Florida State. If Florida State wins this, pencil them into the playoff the rest of the way. I mean, realistically, I don't see anything, at least to the first playoff ranking, unless Florida State completely gets ravaged by injuries or something else happens. Vegas has this game close for a reason. So I'm taking Clemson the upset. And you know what, Fresh? Give me the under in this game. 55 is a lot of points. I think this is going to be tight. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring than what people think. I'm going to say right around the 49-50 mark for this. Over-under set 55, so give me that right now. But I think it's going to really come down to the line play, which offensive line can open up a big hole for whether it's Shipley or Benson, and then who can hit a big-time pass down the field. Is it Johnny Wilson? Is it Bo Collins? What is? And how much is Jordan Travis injured? We don't get injury reports in college. They don't tell us any of those things. Jordan Travis, I don't know how bad that non-throwing arm is, but I've seen NFL quarterbacks take injuries to their non-throwing arm and really impact their ability to lead a football team. Give me Clemson in this game, and I'll take the under.
There's also early forecast calling for some rain during the football game, and as we've seen multiple weeks, multiple years, noon kickoffs, teams are kind of sleepy. It's an early start to the day, and they might get a slow start, so should be an interesting one.
All right, Fresh, let's go to our last game this